If anyone ever asks you what the goal is, what the rewards are of practicing this meditation, the goal is very simple. The goal is to truly learn to live here with an open heart, to learn that really God is love. And that is truly the end game of the struggle. And the struggle is what? It's us up against ourselves, up against those parts of us that refuse to let go, that refuse to open, and that really keeps our heart locked. We need to learn how to find a way to do this. And the meditation is all about that. Part of the meditation is building balance. Another part of the meditation is quieting the mind. Another part of the meditation is learning to use sexual energy, to activate Kundalini, the pathway to enlightenment. But we're human beings living on the earth. And the only way to fulfill our karma and to truly work out whatever it is we have to work out is an open heart, love, compassion, forgiveness, the ability to stop judging other people, the ability to open and understand that the highest level anyone can attain in this world is to be a servant of God and a servant of the people we love. If there's any goal in what we do here, it's this, being a happy person, finding that we have all the tools, we have everything that's necessary to build a system inside that allows us to function here and arrive at a level where the heart is open all the time. But it needs foundation. It needs a quiet mind. It needs a throat chakra that is open. It needs conscious use of sexual energy. All of that is building an inner life that ultimately enables us to do the one thing we're here to learn on the earth, how to live with our hearts open, how to live with unconditional love. So, the answer to all this is very simple. Doing it, as I always say, is not easy, but the answer is very simple. And the answer is something that we work towards. We grow, we incrementally get there. We can't, I'll never forget that kid in Fort Worth, Texas, at a halfway house when I had a group. There must have been 20 or 30 of these young kids. They were all juvenile delinquents living in this halfway house. And I talked about, if you really are hungry, if you were starving to death in the middle of a desert, you could smell a hamburger a mile away, nothing would keep you from getting to that hamburger. And I'll never forget that kid who raised his hand and said, yeah, said it with a Southern accent. If you all ate the hamburger in one bite, it would probably kill you if you're starving to. You've got to nibble at it. You have to nibble at life. Keep opening to it, letting it teach, and keep nibbling away. And that enables the nourishment to truly come in. We can't overindulge ourselves with spiritual energy. It's too powerful. We can't overindulge ourselves with life, with karma. It's too powerful. So we have to nibble. We have to slowly digest all the things we're here to learn. And ultimately, in digesting all those things, we build a system inside that enables us to truly live with our hearts open. We have the internal strength to do that. teaches patience. It teaches us how to forgive ourselves and how to forgive other people. It teaches us the importance of love and how essential it is for us to function here like human beings. I remember Rudy told me, he said, the problem in the world is everybody is spiritually starving to death. And this is really true. This is one of the problems. You look at the people that run this world and they're like starving to death spiritually inside themselves. So incrementally, nibbling, we build a system that keeps us from starving to death, that keeps us in touch with a spiritual force, with all of creative energy in the universe. That Shakti, that energy, is what helps us to continue to build that system inside. But we nibble at it. We don't try to eat it in one bite. We nibble at it. Slowly, incrementally, we grow. And over time, we build a really profound sense of maturity in ourselves, of how to deal with illusion, how to deal with karma, how to deal with an intake of spiritual energy. And even more important than anything else, how to deal with all the transformations that take place in a human being when they're connected to this higher force in the universe. And I said it 1,000 times, I'll say it again. The only person we're up against, everyone here, the only person any of you is up against is yourself. And if you make friends with yourself and you love yourself and you allow yourself to incrementally grow every day, you allow yourself to nibble at this spiritual energy and take it in and grow with it every day, you begin to learn to like yourself. You stop beating yourself up. The mind stops ticking. The emotions are no longer quicksand. And the heart can open. And once we start liking and loving ourselves and living with an open heart, that's the world we see. Understand? We see the world that way. So it's no longer us against them, it's us learning from them, us learning how to grow because of what this, objective world is teaching us every day about ourselves. Now, to me, this is a much better way to live than to fight with the objective world. I mean, look, I say it all the time, but it's true. I can't remember a day in my life where the world hasn't been crazy, where there hasn't been a war somewhere, there haven't been genocide, racial crap, all this nonsense that goes on. And I can't remember one day when it hasn't existed. And I can remember all the people to change it and fix it and put billions of dollars into, and the world is probably 5 times crazier today than I can ever remember it. And the only reason for this is people don't change the one thing that is possible to change, their inner life. And if they change their inner life, their perception of the world changes. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? It's not an easy thing to do to change inside oneself. It's very difficult. But once you start, and all of you have started, there is no alternative to this. It's the only thing that works, for God's sake, changing inside oneself, beginning to see the world differently. So it becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. All the bullshit in the world teaches us about all the bullshit inside ourselves. So we've got to change inside. People change. It all changes. But, are 8 billion people going to change? No. Or can we change? Yes. We can get strong enough to allow 8 billion people that are walking around with their minds rattling be a teacher to us about what we have to do to continue to grow instead of being an enemy. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes, Bob?
Earlier, you spoke about being a servant to the people that you love. Could you talk more about that?
Uh, well, I learned this from Rudy, Bob. I was sitting in a talk with Rudy was there. Rudy was sitting right behind me. And Swami was talking about the guru being God. If you worship the guru, you will get your spiritual enlightenment. And I'll never forget, this is one of the great teachings of my life. Rudy whispered in my ear, God is God. The best the guru can be is the servant of God and the servant of his students. And I mean, the humility in it was so profound. The ability to give up his position and say, the best I can be is a servant. Now, when you're a servant, you listen to what the teacher and what the teacher has to tell you. You listen to life. You no longer know better than life. And these situations like family and friends, there's always problems. There's always tension in families. There's always the inability, to deal with the tension. People get on each other's nerves. They fight with each other. They argue. Everybody wants to be right. You understand? And if we would just look at these people in our family and say, hey, nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. And I can learn from the imperfection of my parents. I can learn from the imperfection of my children. I can get big enough inside myself to love them unconditionally and give them the room to find their life. And don't think that they have to live the way I want them to live. Nobody is going to do it anyway. So, in order to accept that and do this, you have to get really big inside. You have to grow inside yourself and develop so many different elements of one's humanity that enables one to function this way. So, you listen to people and then you don't subject them to your idea of what is right in the world. I remember I used to have this with my daughter, when she was in high school and even after, she used to get into all kinds of insane situations, and I understood something very important, Bob, and all of you. Don't lecture her. I don't know what's right. And she has her own reality. And I used to say to her, what did you learn? What did you learn from what you just went through? Instead of telling you the right way to live. And it taught me how to develop that kind of humility. I can listen to somebody who makes a mistake. I don't have to judge them. I can love them anyway. And probably the best way to guide them is you ask them, what did you learn? She used to tell me, you're the only one who tells me that. Everyone else is lecturing me, telling me on the right way. And you're the only one who says, what did you learn? It's being a servant to people you love and not being imperious to them and teaching them the right way to live, because frankly, there is no right way to live. Absolutely no right. And I know this. I used to teach in prisons, and I would meet all these people. God knows I had mafia people. I had all kinds of people that did murderers I had studying with me in prisons. And the one thing I told every single one of them is, I don't give a damn about anything you did in the past. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you the right way to live. All I am interested in is that you want to grow in this moment. You want to change inside. You want to build yourself. You want to really find the deepest levels of your humanity. And there were some tough birds there, I tell you. And I used to love them because they really made me work hard on myself. Remember, we used to have them up in Denton every weekend, you know? I mean, it was incredible. I remember one guy, there was only one rule I had. One rule: no dope, no drugs, no drugs. And I remember this one guy, I used to catch him every weekend smoking dope somewhere, hiding in, every weekend I would catch him. And I finally said, it's enough. And I met him in the prison yard on my way to teach the class. And I said to him, look, I don't want you in my classes anymore. I don't want you to come up to my house anymore. You single-handedly are going to destroy this program for everybody that's doing it. And I want this to stop. And he said to me, you wouldn't have the guts to say this in front of everybody else. I said, come to the temple, that chapel where we used to have meditation. And I told him this in front of, I think, 20, 25 of these inmates. And I said, I no longer want you here. You single-handedly are going to destroy this program for everybody who's benefiting from it. So please, the door's there, get out. Well, I'll never forget this. 2 years, 3 years later, I'm in my apartment in Denton, and there's a knock at the door. There's a knock at the door, and there's this guy. I open the door, there's this guy, and he's there with his wife. And he said to me, Stuart, I came here to apologize to you. He said, what you did in that prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. It basically saved my life, and I was a schmuck doing what I was doing because it could have ruined that program. Never forget that. It brought tears to my eyes. It brought tears to my eyes. So I invited him in and his wife, and we had tea and spent an hour or so, two, talking, and it was great. So what I'm saying is, if you listen to people, you learn, and you truly make an unconditional effort to do something to help them, not according to the way you think they're going to live, but to nurture them spiritually inside, to develop a system inside them where they can connect to higher energy in the universe. I mean, it's amazing. You become a servant. You're a servant of God. You're serving humanity. And the most wonderful thing about all this is you don't know better than anybody. You don't know better than anybody. I remember once I was sitting in Rudy's store and this bag lady walked in and he went up to her and he was so kind to her, treating her in such a gentle and kind way. And after he sat down, he said, Stuart, you never know how God is going to manifest in your life. You never know. I mean, we had that in Nepal with the Bahini Foundation. I mean, you want to know, want to have learned, oh my God, the stories, the things I heard, and Chris and the work she did over there was just staggering, you know? But it had nothing to do with knowing the right way to live. It had to do with listening to people, loving them, and guiding them so that they find their own reality. They find their own way to live a creative life. You can't do this if you aren't willing to serve a higher energy or to serve humanity. And both of these things are connected. You know, you've got to be connected to spirit in order to have humility with other human beings. I hope that's clear. I mean, does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you, Stuart. That was very good.
You're welcome, Bob. You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, there'll be meditation at 1 o'clock my time tomorrow and 7:30 on Wednesday. I think a wonderful thing has happened for me. I've been teaching in-person meditation here every day, and it's been great. Bob Anderson came and he's spending 3 weeks here. So I made a commitment with him. Like, if you come for 3 weeks, I'll teach you class every day. And now more people are starting to come. And I really like it. It's really a very good change for me to be doing this. So we have class tomorrow, and then we'll have it every Friday. I can't because they're going to be they're testing the fire alarm system in my building, and those alarms are like a nightmare, and they're going to be going off every 20 minutes. So, you know, so I won't be able to do it. But I was teaching here. If you happen to be in the neighborhood, you're welcome to come. I know most of you live a million miles away, but I'm very happy to be doing this. It's become a very good and nurturing situation for myself. Okay, God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you for being in my life, for being in these classes. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody soon. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.